When he saw Duan Ling Tian walking over step by step, every step Duan Ling Tian strode out seemed as if it stepped onto Zhao Ming's chest, causing Zhao Ming's countenance to become even paler. Not long ago, the violet-clothed young man before his eyes was like an ant that couldn't withstand a single blow before him. However, at this moment, it was instead he himself that was no different to an ant before the young man. Just like Tang Huo being unable to wrap his head around it, Zhao Ming was the same. How could Duan Ling Tian possess such a formidable strength in a short few years of time? Exactly what fortuitous encounters has he obtained? Even if Duan Ling Tian possessed the assistance of the 10,000-year stalactite milk, it was impossible for Duan Ling Tian to improve so quickly in a short few years of time. This was something that Zhao Ming could be sure of. Unknowingly, Duan Ling Tian was already standing before Zhao Ming, and he looked at Zhao Ming with a cold and indifferent expression. Zhao Ming, all those years ago, I thought that you turned to the Azure Forest Tri-sect after all the higher UPS and disciples of the Seven-Star Sword sect were killed and the Seven-Star Sword sect was almost annihilated. If it was like that, even though I would feel that you were ungrateful, yet I wouldn't hate you. After all, everyone has their own ideals. However, never had I imagined that you actually resolutely betrayed the Seven-Star Sword sect at the moment our Seven-Star Sword sect was in a stalemate with the Azure Forest Tri-sect, and you first backstabbed Elder Xian before joining forces with the higher UPS of the Azure Forest Tri-sect to kill the sect leader. Duan Ling Tian spoke word by word. As he finished speaking, only frightful coldness remained within Duan Ling Tian's eyes, and his exceedingly icy cold gaze stared fixedly at Zhao Ming, causing Zhao Ming to feel as if he'd fallen into a pit of ice. Your actions incurred the hate of both men and the heavens. Are you worthy of the sect that fostered you? Are you worthy of your master? Duan Ling Tian's voice was chilly as every one single word of his struck the heart, and every single word seemed to have transformed into a sharp blade that bore fiercely into Zhao Ming's heart, causing Zhao Ming's body to tremble as his expression turned unsightly to the extreme. Actually, after being overwhelmed with rage and backstabbing Elder Xian who he'd got along with for many years before joining forces with the experts of the Azure Forest Tri-sect to kill the sect leader, Ling Hujinhong, he felt regretful in his heart. Especially later on when although he was accepted into the Azure Forest Tri-sect and became a guardian elder of the Azure Forest Tri-sect, causing his status to become even more lofty. But every night when he dreamed, he would frequently dream of Elder Xian and Ling Hujinhong demanding their lives. Not only that, he would frequently dream of the master that had brought him to the Seven-Star Sword sect and fostered him to become someone without the slightest holding back, and his master would be angered to the point of spitting blood and passing away every single time. All of this had become his nightmare. After taking a deep breath, the eyes of Zhao Ming, who'd already realized that it was impossible for him to survive today, flickered with a fierce light, and he stared fixedly at Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, it's all because of you that I betrayed the sect. It's you that harmed my son and even harmed my grandson to the point of becoming a monster that was neither a man nor woman. If it wasn't for you, how could I have been overwhelmed by rage and commit such an act of betraying the sect? Zhao Ming gnashed his teeth. You're still shifting the blame even at a time like this. Duan Ling Tian sneered, and then he said word by word. Do you dare say that if the Seven-Star Sword sect was about to be annihilated and you had the chance to survive, you wouldn't turn to the Azure Forest Tri-sect? Even if I, Duan Ling Tian, have done something, what does it have to do with the sect? What does it have to do with the other people from the sect? Just come at me. Why did you harm Elder Xian? Why did you hurt the sect leader? As he finished speaking, Duan Ling Tian was enraged to the extreme, and his gaze was like blades that seemed to want to slice Zhao Ming into pieces. Zhao Ming had a dark expression yet remained silent. Every single word Duan Ling Tian spoke had struck him in the heart and were logical, causing him to be speechless. Right, I still have to tell you one thing. Those two grandsons of yours that are neither men nor women were killed by Elder Peng not long ago, said Duan Ling Tian to Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming's expression went ominous when he heard this. Even though he'd already found out about the news of the Azure Forest Tri-sect's annihilation from the conversation between Duan Ling Tian and Tang Huo, he still felt that his grandsons ought to be able to escape calamity. Yet Duan Ling Tian's words now had caused the last trace of hope that remained in his heart to be completely shattered. Duan Ling Tian, I'll kill you. Zhao Ming's eyes were crimson red. He seemed to have gone mad as he pounced towards Duan Ling Tian while disregarding his life, and his origin energy skyrocketed as wind concept followed behind his origin energy like a shadow. Bang! But his strength wasn't much stronger than Tang Huo, and it was too weak to stand against Duan Ling Tian. So he was directly kicked flying by a casual kick of Duan Ling Tian's. Duan Ling Tian's gaze went cold when he saw Zhao Ming, who fell to the ground, wanted to stand up. Whirlwind. Duan Ling Tian had already seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind before Zhao Ming, and he blew over to arrive before Zhao Ming in the blink of an eye. Bang! Another kick stomped down fiercely onto Zhao Ming's face, causing the back of his head to smash fiercely onto the ground, causing him to become dizzy. A humiliation. Downright humiliation. Ah! Zhao Ming was knocked down to the point his consciousness was dazed and blurry, and he only realized that his dignity had already been completely trampled upon by Duan Ling Tian when he recovered from his dazed feeling. Instantly, he roared madly. "Even if I must die today, I'll make you pay the price." Zhao Ming pounced at Duan Ling Tian like a madman, and he seemed as if he wanted to take Duan Ling Tian down with him. Swish! Right at this moment, a swift tempest point gave rise to a wave of piercing howls as it tore through the sky, and it carried out a strand of fresh blood after it penetrated one of Zhao Ming's legs. The leg of Zhao Ming, who intended to stand up, went weak, and he collapsed on the ground in an extremely sorry state. "This is what you owe Elder Xian." At the same time, Duan Ling Tian's cold and indifferent voice entered clearly into Zhao Ming's ears. "I'll kill you." Zhao Ming gritted his teeth as he supported his body up, and then the origin energy on his body raged as he soared up into the sky with the intention of fighting Duan Ling Tian with his life. Swish! Another tempest point flashed out through the sky. But the tempest point's target this time wasn't Zhao Ming's limbs, nor was it Zhao Ming's head. It was Zhao Ming's dantian. Swish! A slight swish resounded out as Zhao Ming's dantian was penetrated through, and the vast origin energy condensed within it seemed to have found an exit as they gushed out before vanishing in the sky in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Zhao Ming's dantian was like a leaking ball, and after it finished leaking, the origin energy that coiled around his body had vanished completely. "This is what you owe the sect leader." Duan Ling Tian spoke slowly with an extremely cold and indifferent tone. At the same time, after he lost the support of his origin energy, Zhao Ming, who had been carried flying over 10 meters by his origin energy, had crashed fiercely onto the ground with a bang. Ah! Zhao Ming, who's lost his origin energy, was no different than an ordinary geezer, and he fell to the point he emitted repeated shrill cries. After a while, or perhaps he'd been numbed by the pain, Zhao Ming caught his breath and glared fixedly at Duan Ling Tian with a gaze that was filled with hatred that was to the bone. You actually crippled my cultivation." On Cloud Continent, the strong were respected, and the foundation of a martial artist's existence was his cultivation. Once a cultivator's cultivation was crippled, living was worse than dying to a cultivator. "You're going to die anyway, so what if you don't have your cultivation? Elder Ming, let it go." Duan Ling Tian looked Zhao Ming in the eye as he revealed a smile. This smile was no different to the smile of a devil when it entered Zhao Ming's eyes. I'll kill you." Even though his cultivation was crippled, yet Zhao Ming seemed as if he'd taken stimulants, and he pushed against the floor with his hands while using his remaining leg to support his body up before pouncing towards Duan Ling Tian once more. When facing an ordinary geezer pouncing over, Duan Ling Tian moved away with a casual dodge, and there wasn't the slightest difficulty. Swish! Another tempest point whistled out and descended onto Zhao Ming's back, right onto his backbone. Crack! As his backbone broke inch by inch, Zhao Ming let out a shrill cry, and then he collapsed onto the ground and fainted. Duan Ling Tian instead didn't intend to let Zhao Ming off like this, and with the raise of his hand, his origin energy flashed out to directly draw out the water within the soul cleanse pool to fiercely slap onto Zhao Ming's body. Zhao Ming shuddered and awoken, yet because his backbone was shattered, he was unable to support his body up, and he could only lay on the ground while staring hatefully at Duan Ling Tian. This is what you owe all the higher UPS of the 7-star sword sect. Duan Ling Tian spoke indifferently. Duan Ling Tian, kill me. Zhao Ming spoke with a fierce voice. At this moment, living was worse than dying to him, as he didn't even have the strength to take his own life. This feeling caused him to feel oppressed to the point of almost suffocating. Don't worry, you won't live for long. Duan Ling Tian's gaze was calm. Numerous tempest points flashed out as his hand raised, and they gave rise to waves of piercing howls that were extremely jarring to the ear as they tore through the sky. Swish! 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 3 tempest points easily entered into Zhao Ming's arms and Zhao Ming's remaining legs successively. This is what you owe the disciples of the 7-star sword sect. This is what you owe your master. This is what you owe the sect that fostered you. Zhao Ming's shrill cries resounded out successively, and he had a completely pale face as his entire body shivered. Every single time he was about to faint, Duan Ling Tian would splash water all over him, causing his to awaken and continue with the next round of torture. Duan! Duan! Duan Ling Tian! Kill! Kill me! Kill me please! Zhao Ming was even unable to speak smoothly now, and he spoke intermittently to Duan Ling Tian with a tone that was full of an imploring intention. I won't kill you. Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming's pupils constricted when he heard this. He won't kill me? What does Duan Ling Tian want to do? A bad premonition arose in his heart. At this moment, the thing he regretted the most was not killing himself before Duan Ling Tian crippled his cultivation. If he killed himself earlier, then he wouldn't have to suffer all the torture earlier. Now, he didn't even have the strength to kill himself. For now onwards, you'll stay here to live and perish by yourself. Of course, you can choose to die of hunger. Duan Ling Tian glanced at Zhao Ming for the last time before opening the inscription formation with his spiritual force, and then he flew out to vanish before Zhao Ming's eyes. No. 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 Zhao Ming twisted his neck about. At this moment, only his head could move, and his eyes were filled with boundless hatred and anger. His hatred and anger were practically capable of charging a hole open in the sky and breaking through the horizon. After an unknown period of time, Zhao Ming's eyes abruptly glared wide open. Because he saw a figure that was completely enveloped in a black robe instantly passing through the barrier of the inscription formation before descending from the sky and appearing before his eyes.